that really dark person in the corner? Turn him off.
It's Mike. What you doing? You good?
I thought you were on one.
He got his headphones too. All right. What's good, people? Live from the Good News radio station out in Hawthorne, California. It's your Thursday night spot for NFL takes, topical tangents for the culture. I am Pete D. Camarillo, and as always, to my far right, I'm joined by Kenneth Frank James Berry. I don't know why you're getting shy. The lights on.
I don't know why you said far right. I mean, you don't. Did you just assume my political affiliation?
I guess you are wearing red. And of course,
now you're trying to get us in like gang trouble. Come on, man. You can't just be saying we were in all red and Hawthorne. Like, I don't want to be on Doty right now.
And in the middle, we got a familiar face, familiar voice.
Legend in the making.
He is the hardest working man in sports media. The great Nick Hamilton. At Nick Hamilton LA.
What's good, folks?
What's good, Nick? Glad to have you here, man. Every time you come in, you always say some great stuff. So that's why we refer to you as the great Nick Hamilton. Hey, you got to say it all at once, like a Tribe Called Quest.
I appreciate it. Hey, man, thank y'all for having me, man. What's good, man, on Thursday night, man? We out here in these football streets. What's going on?
Trying to not watch terrible football. Like, honestly, man. Our intro isn't as long as watching, like, I'm pretty sure just terrible cut-ups of the Giants' offense in practice.
Man, Heineke made me want to have a Heineken, man, the way he been playing.
He looked like he had a couple before the game.
Do they not want Cam Newton that bad?
I don't know what their deal
Ron
is.
Rivera, you ran Cam into the ground. You kind of owe it to him.
Nah, that's not happening, bro.
He already ruled it out like three times.
Not happening. And he means it. It's not just for show. He's not just a client. He's a player president. He's definitely not coming here. And
he definitely Cam did that whole interview with his father.
Yeah.
That was dope, though. Like, unless he just knows this is the end.
I mean, I don't until Cam, I guess the whole vaccination situation takes place, which I think a lot of people are looking at him because he's not. I guess he doesn't want to get vaccinated, which is his choice.
Yeah.
But then you got to understand that, teams are going to kind of pass on you. There's some teams that do need Cam. Like, let's not act like there's no teams out there that couldn't use Cam.
For sure.
Even as a backup role. But at the same time, it's like, they're going to put that mandate out there. So either if you abide by it or don't, but here's the choices that you have. So when you look at Cam, I mean, I don't think Cam is really tripping, to be honest with you. I think Cam is, he wants to play football. Obviously, that's something that he loves to do. And at one point, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Ever. He was doing unprecedented
set records
things
as a rookie, that even Tom Brady didn't set. So, he's had a good career.
The first black QB to win MVP outright.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
Steve McNair should have won it, but you know how it was back then.
Yeah, Aaron McNair definitely should have won it over. I mean, I know they gave it co-MVPs to him and Peyton, but I think he had a much better year than Peyton Manning
with a lot less too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Aaron McNair was the truth.
Didn't the Titans go further that year in the playoffs too? They might have.
I think they were a wild card. I think
they were like one game apart.
Yeah. It was tighter than the Beyonce jumpsuit back then. So I mean, it was pretty neck and neck. But Aaron McNair was the guy that, to me, if they would have given him a more help,
Yeah.
he would have definitely gone. I mean, the closest he got was like
Baltimore
an
when
inch.
he's washed.
Well, no, an inch from winning the Super Bowl when he was with the Titans against the Rams, the St. Louis Rams at that time. So
never forget it was the St. Louis Rams.
Yep, and they back home where they belong.
Shout out to Mark Jones.
Mark Jones.
Which is why we brought you on the show, because we know you've been keeping the Rams beat. You've been dominating it. So the talk of the town has been Matt Stafford. What have you seen so far in camp, and is it worth all the hype?
Well, you know what? You have to take it game by game. But I will say this about Matthew Stafford, rather. Matthew Stafford, when he came into voluntary camp, I mean, he set a precedence. He set a tone from day one. And he really wanted to be a part of this offense. He really wanted to be a part of this team. He really wanted to be an individual that was in the position of leadership and kind of showed not only the older guys, but the younger guys how things are done. Yeah. And even as they progress through mini camp, OTAs, training camp, and then obviously into the preseason and then to the collective, scrimmages against the Raiders and the Cowboys. Matthew Stafford has been a guy that's been, he's pretty much been stand up. I mean, he's been a guy that, Sean McVay can definitely, you thought Sean McVay got an early Christmas gift. He's been cheesing from ear to ear, man. He's like, he's been starry-eyed, so to speak. But you can do so many different things with that offense now that you have a guy that's not afraid to throw the football and able to throw the football and have a strong arm doing it. We witnessed it on Sunday after, 3 plays, he launched it to Van Jefferson.
Yep.
Which I'm so glad that they've finally taken the cuffs off of Van Jefferson.
Yep.
And letting him really stretch the field. And when you look at it, when you think about it, like Robert Woods, when you think about it, you would think Robert Woods had about 6 to 8 catches that game. He only had 3 catches for like 27 yards and a touchdown. But the reason why that is because the offense is so dynamic. They have so many weapons. I mean, Deshaun Jackson got 2 catches for 21 yards, and that was it. When you look at Cooper Kupp at that long third, and I think it was like 4 plays into the third quarter, and he launched it to Cooper Kupp, who was streaking down the middle into the end zone. And so, I think he has like 7 catches for $108 and a TD. So when you look at what this offense can do, I mean, Darrell Henderson got involved. Hell, you saw Sonny Michel sighting.
Everybody got involved.
On the field, but the O-line really protected well. The defense, on the other hand, I mean, the defense was lit up in the first quarter. But guys were rotating, guys were moving around. You look at Jalen Ramsey, you look at David Love Jr., you look at all of these guys, that were involved. Jordan Fuller. You look at all these guys; they were engaged, they were involved, they were rotating. I think that's something that Raheem Morris really wants to continue to, I believe, wants to emphasize is just the rotations. And they got a little lackadaisical in the second and third quarter because they started giving up a lot of yardage, especially against the run. And I think that's something they're going to have to really focus and horn in on when it comes to the stopping the run, because you get up against a good team. The Bears are just a poorly coached garbage team. And I really feel bad for Justin Fields. I mean, I'm glad Justin Fields got his first TD in his career. I mean, that was a high moment. But the red, the what they call it, the red rifle looked like a damn water pistol. And I mean, he looked horrific. It was so bad to the point where Aaron Donald finally got on the stat sheet with his first sack of the season in the fourth quarter. That's how bad it was. Yep. I mean, David Montgomery, I think he's a good running back. I like Marquise as a wide receiver. But the Bears are trash.
Yeah, and even their defense didn't look very good. Their front seven.
Man, the defense was more suspect than a counterfeit check. That's how bad it was. So I think the Rams, as they move on to face the Colts in Indy on Sunday, obviously Carson Wentz has come back from his injury, but the way Seattle disrupted that fluidity of the offense, I think the Rams can do a much better job. I think they have a much better defense in order to do that. Even I talked to Raheem Morris on Thursday, and I just told him, I asked him rather, how do you disrupt the fluidity of the offense? Because once you do that, you knock them off kilter. A lot of times it doesn't provide for them, positive
they want
results.
Comfortable. Yeah, they want to be comfortable.
So you have to pretty much just make them unbalanced and make them uncomfortable. And that's something I think the Rams can do. Offensively, I think Matthew Stafford's going to have another big game.
Yeah.
Even though he was offensive rookie of the week, rightfully so. He'll probably, at least get close to it in voting if he has another 300-plus yard game this week.
Isn't it crazy how much changes in 5 years? Like, think about it. 5 years ago, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, like that
1 and
Philly
2, yeah.
Rams, both teams traded up to get him. Now neither one's with that original
What
team.
a waste.
Yeah,
And
crazy how time changed.
I guess you could say Goff is thriving with the Lions because that's all he can do.
You mean scratching?
Yeah, I mean, that's
all
kind of
he
his
can really
game.
do.
That's kind of his
He
game.
throws it to running backs, tight ends, and occasionally a receiver.
And he threw a pick. Typical Goff.
Yeah.
And they were down early. They started slow, and they came back at the end.
I mean,
and still lost.
the Lions were golful. I mean, they were just. It was.
I think what was worse is I had both their running backs on my
Putrid.
bench, so I didn't get no points from them either.
I had Swift on
And
my
you
bench.
actually put him on your bench. Yeah,
I
you deserve
had no
exactly
running
what
backs.
you got.
I had no running backs.
I'm undefeated in all three of my leagues. So.
You deserve exactly what you got for that one. But I mean, I think this is a dynamic Rams team. I think this Ram. I mean, we had early predictions of who was going to be in the Super Bowl, and obviously it's only week 1. I mean, you got 16 more games to go.
Yeah.
But if the Rams continue to be on that trajectory as far as being able to open up that offense,
I think they got to
so.
figure out that linebacker situation. You know, do they have a Corey Littleton hiding somewhere on the roster?
I would say, you got a young cat like Ernest Jones that's still learning the system. I think he's very aggressive. I think he has a very high football IQ. When you look at, obviously Aaron Donald is who he is. So I mean,
he just makes
as long as you got Aaron Donald, you got a chance.
Yeah.
As long as you have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on your squad, you got a hell of a chance.
That's a
right?
pick and a strip sack,
right?
Almost every play.
So when you look at that defense on Sunday against Indianapolis, Indianapolis's offense, they're gonna press them dudes like a collar shirt. And I'm gonna tell you something. It's not gonna be pretty. It may start off a little slow in the first quarter, kind of get the rhythm, figure things out. But as they move along, the Rams can easily be 2-0 by the time they face Tom Brady and the Buccaneers at SoFi next week. But
that's going to be a crazy one.
I said beforehand, if the Rams with Jared Goff went to Tampa and beat Tom Brady on Monday night in Tampa against the Bucs, there's no way in hell you should lose this game at home with a better upgraded quarterback in Matthew Stafford. If you do, you need to be slapped upside your head. There's no way in hell you should be losing this game. These guys they're the Super Bowl champs. You're going to play them hard. They're going to get hard play every week. We saw what they did. The Cowboys almost beat them, but they played them hard.
Yep.
So you're going to get the same thing each and every week. And if the Rams can break down the film, which I'm sure they have, the Cowboys game, they're going to break down the film when the Bucs play the Falcons, which ain't going to be much help. I think that the Rams can go pretty far. I said they were, originally I said there were 3 good teams in the NFC. The Rams, the Bucs, and the Packers. I must have been drunk when I said the Packers.
You weren't the only one.
Because the Packers are who they...
Aaron Rodgers might have been drunk.
Well, he over there meditating on a mountaintop, with the man bun.
They said he looked like a dirty cop facing allegations.
So Russell Crowe and American Gangster.
Yeah,
Worse. Child support court.
Worse. So I think when you look at, just when you look at the Rams squad, the AFC, the NFC West is a tough division.
Yeah, that's what was going to be my next point because they all went undefeated.
And them and the AFC West, they all went undefeated
in
week 1. So
West is the best.
NFC West is a very tough division. I don't expect them to run through the division like a gauntlet. I think they're going to have some. I do think they sweep the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are
really
absolutely.
But you got to look at
the pass rush with that.
Chandler Jones had 5 sacks by himself. Some people say, well, Taylor Lewan's not on the juice anymore. Michigan tackles are kind of overrated, but that's all another issue.
Who they play last week?
They played the Titans. But,
who?
They played the Titans.
Okay. All right.
We just look at that defense, that amoeba defense they have with all those first-round picks and edge rushers and everything back there. And the fact that Kyler Murray, you can tell just from that first game how much better he's got. Like throwing from the pocket and just evading. Like Fields was I think a sample size.
But you think they have a chance to beat the Rams?
Legitimately, offensively, they can hang with them.
I didn't ask you. Hang. I said can they beat them twice? Or can they beat them
Not twice, maybe once.
All right, so who do you think is their biggest? Who do you think is the biggest problem for the Rams in this division?
The Niners.
Really?
The Niners, and I'll tell you why.
The Niners. People?
The Niners are mentally in their heads because they've been beaten the last 2 seasons. They have yet to get a W off the Niners in 2 seasons. That weighs on, especially not so much Matthew Stafford, but the guys that have been there. They remember that. They don't forget. So, in the Niner players that were on those teams that are still Deebo Samuels and the rest of those guys, they don't forget that either. So when the Rams go up there the first time, that's going to be weighing heavily on their brains mentally. So if they can go up there to San Francisco and get a win, not only is that a great, obviously physically, but mentally it's a weight lifted off your shoulders. I said that they would at least split with the Niners this year. I think they split with the Seattle Seahawks because the Seahawks always play them tough, whether it's up there or down here. They always play them tough. Now we know that the Rams can beat the Seahawks when the push comes to shove, but the Arizona Cardinals are not there yet. They still smell like Similac. They ain't ready. So anybody that thinks that Arizona has a chance, you better get off that narcotic.
Kyler Murray is a special player, though.
I'm not saying he's not, but that's not enough to beat the Rams.
True. Okay. Well, let's look at the Rams. Yeah, their offensive receivers, they can go 4 wide every play with the tight end out there, Higbee, Harris.
Don't forget Jacob Harris. Exactly.
Dudes ran like a 4-3.
He used to be a wide receiver. They switched him to tight end. Let's just forget. Let's not forget.
But the loss of Cam Akers obviously hurt, and Henderson ran hard. But do you think this run game is going to be the one thing to hold this team back?
I think once Sonny Michel really gets acclimated with the offense, to his experience, because he is a champion, because he's been in those positions before. The main thing about Sonny Michel is he's got to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy at least 14, 15 games throughout the season, I think that will benefit because you got to be able to split carries with Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson cannot be the main rusher and still stay healthy. He takes too much punishment. Last season, before he was 1 yard shy of being the all-time team rusher for the season behind Cam Akers. He was 1 yard shy. They had 624 yards. Cam Akers had 625 yards. So but they were able to split the carries. And Cam Akers came on late because he had that rib injury that he suffered in game. I think it was week 3 against the Eagles. So Darrell Henderson took majority of those snaps. And so when you look at Darrell Henderson works better when you split the carries because it's a less of a workload. So he doesn't have to focus so much on that. And it keeps him healthy and it preserves him because now we got 17 games to work with. So that's an extra game that may be a costly game down the stretch, because if you guys are fighting for a position, the last 2 games can dictate where you are seeding wise, and you may have to play your best game and not be able to rest your players like you normally would going into the playoffs. So this is going to be definitely a different type of season, I think, just across the board in the NFL because of that 17th game and how essential that game could be for a lot of teams that's trying to fight for that wild card playoff or just fight for divisional purposes as far as trying to win the division down the stretch.
So, hypothetically, because Henderson's been splitting carries dating back to Memphis. Mm-hmm. We had Gainwell and it was Tony Pollard. He was never, the guy all the time.
Right.
So, hypothetically, let's say he gets hurt. You may have a Jake Funk, but even then, there's no guarantee he's going to come in and kill it right away. The free agent market, we got to be honest with these running backs because cats are going down left and right. What is the likely possibility in this multiverse that Todd Gurley reunites with the Rams this year?
0.
If it's like DEFCON 5 and cats are going down.
0. They would already did that. They would already did.
You have a better chance of reuniting the Fat Boys before that happens.
They're all dead.
Well, there you go.
Oh my God.
Hopefully that answers your question.
And I think to that point, Sonny Michel, he is a tall one-cut runner, and he has more in the passing game than they really ever let Gurley develop. And he can block.
And he can block. And that's what you need. The thing about it is you can air it out. You can't cover. And if you double team one, that leaves another one to have one-on-one coverage, which means they can dominate. So if you got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in that particular system, and then you can have a Deshaun Jackson somewhere down the side or run a couple jet sweeps or what have you, you still free it up. And then you got Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson is a dude that a lot of teams underestimate.
Definitely.
This kid is dynamite. This kid is big time.
Yep.
Killed it at the Senior Bowl.
And he's going to definitely only going to improve. As long as he stays healthy, he's only going to do nothing but improve and elevate. And this kid, if you didn't see what you saw last week, go back and watch it again. Because the way he created separation for himself, the man fell, got back up, realized, damn, I ain't touched. My man was like butter going through hot toast. And it was like, I'm thinking he's down because I'm in the press box, so I'm looking downward. And I'm like, oh, damn, he's down. Okay, crap. All right, that's cool. Well, at least we inside the 10. So this dude didn't even get touched.
I was like, concessions, like, what?
What the hell is wrong? So, I mean, obviously that's not going to happen to a good team, maybe like a Bucks team or, a Niners team or something like that where you actually playing, good talent. But the cupcake teams that you play, like Chicago, like the Colts, you're gonna see more plays like that. Maybe not necessarily with him, but other wide receivers, and even Tyler Higbee. So
Tutu Atwell.
Well, he's gonna be mainly on punt returns, which is smart. I do not want to see Cooper Kupp be another punt return at all.
Yes.
I love Cooper Kupp. He's a good dude. He's talented. Guy got a plan for your life, but that ain't it.
So, I mean, you talked a little bit about Deshaun, Robert Woods, ties to the city. You talked about Stafford, Donald, Ramsey, these big names. Like, there's a lot of reasons to be excited for the Rams. But what's excites you the most about this team? And the reason why I ask you that is because I know you're also tapped in with the other team in the city.
Oh yeah, with the Chargers. Yeah. I think with the Rams, they have a legitimate chance of making the Super Bowl this year. Like they can really make history, much like we saw the Tampa Bay Bucks did last season, as far as being able to host the Super Bowl and being in their own home stadium. And I think the Rams have a legitimate shot. I know a lot of people don't think that they're picking the Bucks. Some people are picking the Green Bay Packers. But I really do think, not just because I cover the team, but I really do think that the Rams have a legitimate shot. It's hard to repeat in the NFL.
Yes,
as great as Tom Brady is, he's definitely the greatest of all time. But as great as he is, it's very hard in the National Football League to repeat and to come back into the Super Bowl just to defend your title, let alone actually win another one. And I think if LA is able, I'm talking about the Rams, if they're able to stay healthy, stay COVID-free, because that's another concern, they have a legitimate chance. If they win the division, which I think I picked them to win the division, I said they would probably be the 2 seed because Tampa will probably be the 1. They'd probably be the 2 seed. They have a legitimate shot of going all the way and facing who I predicted Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
And to your point, I mean, they made a lot of headlines for bringing back all 22 back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, new season, another game, you might want to add something else.
Well, that's what I mean. You can't have a championship team and don't add new ingredients. Exactly. Right? And I think that's what the Rams did. The Rams realized, look, if we're going to be successful, and props to Les Snead as well as Kevin Demoff, if we're going to be successful, we need to upgrade. We need to do some fine tuning and realize, okay, this is what we need to do.
And to their credit, they've really done that since they've come here.
I think they drafted well. I mean, the jury's still out on Tutu Atwell, but I think everybody else that they drafted has pretty much been pretty solid. From Ernest Jones, Bobby Brown III. I think they've had the last 2 draft classes have really been strong I believe for the Rams, and they've really been paying dividends. I mean, again,
and they're doing it without first round picks.
We're talking about Van Jefferson, and sometimes first round picks could be overrated unless you just a sorry ass Jacksonville type of team where you need the first round picks. Sometimes first round picks are not as glamorous as they appear to be, because a lot of times you can find diamonds in the rough in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, even 5th rounds sometimes. So
and they've done it with their edge rushers. They've done it with their safeties, their corners, running backs, tight ends,
at tackle,
guards.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rams really are going to miss JJ. I think they're going to miss JJ on the defensive side of the ball, because his signal calling, his leadership on that. But I think Jordan Fuller can take over, and I think he can step right into that role. A lot of guys on that team have a lot of confidence in him. Jalen Ramsey is one, Aaron Donald being another one. So I think when you have getting confidence from those type of guys, that really believe in your talent and your skill set, it does something for a guy.
And I think the other thing, too, that you were talking about earlier is rotating people, working people in so that when they are starting or somebody gets hurt, they're ready to go. Because like you mentioned, JJ wasn't a starter 3 years ago.
Right.
He was groomed at, and then when Joyner left, he was up next.
Well, it's just like
ran with it.
Taylor Rapp,
and I'm seeing the same thing because, as you know, I mean, obviously, Raheem Morris is now the new defensive coordinator, and hopefully he stays on another year because you can't really build the continuity that you need to do when you're having constantly guys getting rotated in and out.
Yeah.
That's why Thomas Brown has been so successful with the running backs because he's been there a nice length of time where he's built that chemistry and that aura to be like, hey, this is the type of system that we want to run. One day he will be a head coach. I will say that. Maybe sooner than later, maybe in another year or so, he may come up for a head coaching position.
I mean, he pulled Arizona out of the mud. Atlanta.
And that was a tall task, Jack.
Yeah, that was.
You can walk on water and crap ice cream before I saw that happen. But, I just feel like, and then you look at what Brandon Staley's doing, what he did last year, having the Rams as the number one defense. Now he's moved across the hall to the Los Angeles Chargers. And you can see that same type of remnants as far as on the Chargers defense when you look at what he's built with the Chargers defense and how they come together like socks and shoes, man. I mean, you look at Joey Bosa. Obviously, they lost Melvin Ingram to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was one of their bookends for a long time. But to me, the keys are Derwin James' health. As long as he can stay healthy, because Derwin James can beat you inside, outside. He's a vocal leader on that field.
He's a baller.
He has great vision, very high football IQ. Joey Bosa, I mean, the name speaks for itself. We don't have to get into his stats and resume. But I think the two guys that really play well off each other that can stay healthy are Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquil.
Facts.
Those are two guys that you really want to horn in on and realize, okay, these guys can really get the job done. And if they stay healthy, they really feed off each other. I mean, Uchenna Nwasu, you saw what he did. He pretty much
Beast.
sent Fitzmagic home packing back to the old folks' home. But when you look at also too, I think the health of Nazir Adderley is going to be key down the stretch. When you look at just that whole defensive side, man, it's going. I think that's their defense. Kaiser White, their identity is going to be their defense this year.
It's speed too. Like they really got rid of Casey Hayward. Like all their linebackers run at least in the low 4.5s.
I mean, for a linebacker, that's.
And the Raiders passed on all of them, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's typical Raiders.
Hurts my heart.
But I mean, I think Justin Herbert's going to have a great year. I think they beefed up that O-line. I mean, they have a nice mixture of veterans and rookies.
Slater is a monster.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Pace out there.
The only thing that questions me, that I question rather, is the running game. I'm not sold on the running game. I think I like Mike Williams. I like KJ Hill. I like obviously top three Keenan Allen.
Yep.
I love those guys, but I think the running game. Now you talk about bringing another running back. That's a team I believe should bring in another running back because I think Austin Eckler is a great number 2. I don't think he's a strong number 1, and then 2.
Joshua Kelly.
See Joshua Kelly, he's not there yet. But Larry Roundtree, that kid is special. That kid can definitely work wonders as he continues to move along. That kid is special. He may not be right there right now, but he's definitely on his way to getting to that point where you want to see him really just do damage. But until that time, until that become turns into fruition, you got to get another back. You're gonna have to get another. And I always said, if you can get another back with veteran experience, why not get Adrian Peterson?
They would do that, but it feels like they're trying to almost send a message to guys like him, Fred Gore, like, we kind of want you gone. And it's like, AP almost had 1,000 yards last year.
In Detroit with Matthew Stafford.
And, was catching passes. Everybody says AP couldn't catch. I'm like,
that dude is not human.
He's
catch.
Not.
He was
titanium.
He was doing 40-inch box jumps with 100-pound dumbbells in each hand at Oklahoma as a freshman.
This guy came back from a serious knee injury.
The first one to come back.
6 months.
Yep.
6 months. I'm like, this dude is an X-Men. He's full of titanium.
He's Wolverine.
He's Wolverine mixed with
Black Panther.
Yes. Excellent.
Man has adamantium just every.
Dude, he was built in Wakanda.
And a vice grip. I don't want to get hit by Adrian Peterson in any form of life. I don't want him to bump into me on accident. I don't have the insurance.
Dude,
for that.
that's like shaking Jerry Rice's hand. You ever shook Jerry Rice's hand?
I mean, don't he got stickum? So I mean, yeah, it would hurt.
No, that dude used to catch bricks when he was young. That's how his hands are so hard. When he shakes your hand, dude,
sounds
you
like
feel
a knife.
it.
I feel like it's probably a knife.
He used to catch bricks when he was young. So that's why he was able to catch.
Does he have cricket fingers like the point guards?
Yo, Torrey Holt's fingers, when I really got up on him.
Torrey Holt's fingers throwing up gang signs.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that?
Like, where you from, homie?
You say Grape Street? No, you're the wrong place.
So,
joking.
From a Cardinals to a Tampa Bay, where do you rank the Chargers as far as a contender?
I said this early on my show, and I said this before. I said if they win 10 games, which is legit, they can legit win 10 games on this schedule. I think they come in as a number 2 behind the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Kansas City Chiefs win the division. But it would not surprise me if they go in next week and beat the Chiefs. It would not surprise me.
They played them tight.
Cleveland gave you the blueprint on how to play them tight.
Yep.
Cleveland just didn't have the personnel to do it. The Chargers actually have the personnel to get it done if they can. But I have them at 10-7. I have them in a wild card, and I think if they win their first game, and then they go on whatever happens after that is house money, and it to me is a successful season because now they have something they can build on. Brandon Staley has a playoff win. They know what it takes for the next year what it takes to get over whatever hump they get stumbled upon in the playoffs. I think it's a successful season. I think the Chargers can only go up and build. I think they need to start looking, in the running game, the wide receiver game, because I don't know if Mike Williams is sturdy enough to last an entire season. He's great when those 50-50 balls are more like 80-20 balls for him.
Yep.
But if he can't stay healthy, what the hell good are you? If you're not available, what the hell good are you? And you're limited. Yeah, you're limited. So I would personally.
I mean, 13 been hurt too.
I would love to see a Michael Thomas on the Chargers. I'm just saying. Joe Lombardi's been there. Joe Lombardi's there now.
That's a lot to move.
Hey, man, you find a way to get it done.
That's true.
You'll find a way to get it done.
He's one of the people who had COVID, too. Are those 7 people for the Saints? 6
How many people have recovered from COVID? You act like that dude about to be off the field for a whole year, like he just got shot up or something.
Lamar beat it twice.
Probably 3 times. He's from Florida.
You never exactly. Good point. You never know.
He probably got the original antibody to defeat all of it.
But I mean, listen. I think the Chargers are legit. They're gonna be. I think they beat the Cowboys on Sunday. I definitely think they beat the Cowboys. Yeah, they should beat the Cowboys. I mean, I think Zeke is going. I think Zeke's going to go off. I think he's not going to have another, average game where he barely shows up on the stat sheet. But I don't think it's enough. I think that Chargers defense. I mean, Joey Bosa is going to go at Zeke all day long. He said that on Thursday. Look, I didn't take it easy on him in practice at Ohio State. I ain't going to start now. And if Joey Bosa's got you locked in, that's like a shark got you locked in when he smells blood on you. You can forget it. You can cancel Christmas.
And since Lyle Collins got suspended, or he's out for a minute, Uchenna Nwosu been eating since USC. So
feed him.
Yeah, that's the perfect person to play off of. Fast linebackers, good interior D tackles.
Yeah.
Michael Davis, like the corners for the Chargers, I think don't get enough respect for how good they actually are when you take away Casey Hayward. So that should be
Davis balled on Sunday.
I think
got a fat contract too.
Well, I think they still have some proving to do, and I think that's another reason why people haven't really given them the respect as you alluded to, because I think they still have some proving to do. I think they have to go through some trials and tribulations, as it were.
Convert some field goals.
Some Tyreek Hill games.
I wish Joey Bosa would crack Tyreek Hill. I really do. I can't stand Tyreek Hill. I don't like him at all. I hope Joey Bosa. I hope Uchenna. I'm like Uchenna. What will it take for you to crack Tyreek Hill in half?
You probably got to hit up Kenneth Murray. Like, look, you're the fastest linebacker here.
Kenneth Murray, Drew Tranquil. What do you need to do to crack this dude in half? Please.
Like,
I'm never one to celebrate people's misery or when they get like I didn't celebrate when Fitzpatrick went. I was like, damn, that sucks because you never want to see a guy get injured.
Yeah.
You never want to see a guy lose his livelihood because of an injury. Tyreek Hill, I will stand up and clap and applaud. That's how much I don't like Tyreek Hill. I have no respect for him.
Yeah,
I wish he would hit me in the chest. Don't hit your son in the chest. Hit me in the chest and see what happened to you.
Oof. And he went to Oklahoma State before.
And I ain't talking either. Oof. I wish you. I mean every word I say. I ain't just trying to talk tough on the radio because I'm on the air because he ain't. No. I wish you would try to swing on me. Be last time you do.
I think everybody just totally forgets.
LA folk are different. I don't play that.
Nah, especially I'm a father myself, so I don't particularly care for I don't have no respect for drunk drivers or child abusers at all.
I'm with you on that.
None at all. So I don't have no respect for Ty. That's why I told I've never I never interviewed Tyreek Hill and I never will. I don't give a damn. He got the game-winning touchdown. I would never interview that bastard.
I mean, hey, it's real.
I love Pat Mahomes. I like the Kansas City Chiefs. I like watching good football, man, like anybody else.
Yeah.
But the league totally just brushed that
asshole.
They totally just brushed that whole situation.
And it pissed me off because the dude was wearing Negro League baseball gear, and I'm like, God damn it, I can't like that picture.
But I like the gear and the representation.
I like the gear. I support the Negro League Baseball Museum. I mean,
why
you guys,
him?
Exactly. That's what I said. I was at Florida Evans. Damn.
All right, man. So with that, let's go ahead and move to college football.
Speaking of damn. I mean, I wish I should have queued up "Oh Happy Day" from the Sister Act.
I thought this was Saved by the Bell or something. Okay, go ahead.
I've been talking about this for years now. This man has been living off the Rose Bowl victory and Sam Darnold and Ronald Johnson and Uchenna Nwosu and Adoree Jackson.
I didn't realize he was there for 8 years.
He's been there forever.
Yeah, 8 seasons.
He's been there for
that was wild. When they said 8 seasons, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Clay Helton's finally fired at USC. Like, after Stanford is a monster of Pete Carroll's making, and Clay Helton had to deal with it, and he never had an answer for it, and now Stanford's not going anywhere.
I just think of it like, as a UCLA fan, like how are you the head coach of USC for 8 years and nobody even realizes it? Like,
because
they want you fired for like 4 seasons.
Because you're Gomer Helton.
The ultimate. It's great. Cardinal and Colorado almost beat 5th ranked Texas A&M. They played them that tough. I was like, I think I tweeted out. I was like, if Colorado, legitimately, if this team played USC, they would beat the brakes off them. Now Colorado actually has skill players now. Jerry Rice's son, the Inglewood receiver. They have a sturdy D line. They've been getting linemen. They had the Narbonne D tackle Barry, and the fact that Texas A&M, 5th ranked team in the country, barely squeaked out of there with a win, and that's Carl Durrell at Colorado, the same dude who was going to war with Pete Carroll when he was at USC, when USC was at its height, was putting Maurice Jones-Drew, Mercedes Lewis, who's still in the league, he's putting those cats in the league. You look at Clay Helton and everybody, all the 5-star recruits that are just going to come to USC anyway because it's USC, and you're telling me you can't get one signature win. You get slapped out by Notre Dame every other year. You recruit good, but you practically almost lose to UCLA every other season. You get your manhood. They got their manhood taken by Alabama. That was the final straw. Like, USC's not recovering from that for a while. Like, Miami put up a better fight against Alabama than USC did, and that was supposed to be hyped up.
I just think the worst part is how are you so mediocre? Like,
with all that elite talent that you don't
in the Pac-12
and Dante Williams
with all the NIL, the SEC, like all this stuff going on, and here you're supposed to be the king of the West, and
bro, Dante Williams is like the first coach to really in a while to really actually get these DBs looking like they're NFL ready. Like it's been probably since the Pete Carroll era where they had a DB coach who actually was coaching up the corners to not get eaten up ridiculously every week. So it's just the fact that they had Ronald Jones wasted him. They had, Kendall Slovis. He looks great, but that's because it's a gimmicky offense. Look at the recruits they lost. They wasted Stephen Carr. He's in Indiana now. They wasted Marquise Stepp. I don't know where he's at. You had a stable of running backs you could have used. Malapai, he's been there forever, but they never really got the most out of him. Now you have Graham Harrell there, and you're running all these receiver sets and this spread offense, but you're soft. Your line is soft. The D-line has potential, but they're not there yet either. And sadly, weirdly, the strength of the USC team might be its defensive backfield now because of Dante Williams, who's arguably pretty much the first black coach in USC history. Go figure. Rest in peace, Saban Cunningham, too. And David Patten. I forgot to talk about that last week. But, yeah, rest in peace, Saban Cunningham. Great USC fullback. But, yeah, so Helton's gone.
Your thoughts, Nick?
I've heard you say some things, Nick. I just wanted to say what I had to say and get out the way. Just get out the way. Let me know if you want to queue for Happy Day.
As you so elocuted perfectly what you said, I was on these here airwaves along with my co-host Jackie Ray on the Opposite Reaction that you can catch every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Good News Radio Network that you're listening to right now.
Ding.
And we have a segment called Truth Spoken, which I talk about anything that's going on, and I can pretty much give my opinion for about 3 minutes. Quick synopsis on what I said at that time, and I'm going to stand by it now. First and foremost, I've been able to cover these USC Trojan football team for the last 7 and now going on 8 seasons. So I've been around just as long as Clay Helton has been around.
Yep.
I think Clay Helton is a nice guy.
Yep.
I think he cares a lot more about the kids than most of your head coaches in college football today. Mm. With that being said, does not translate into wins.
Yep.
USC has not been the same since Snoop kicked down the buildings. Ever since they got their modern-day death penalty known as the sanctions, they have not been the same. They have lost their backbone and damn sure lost their way. And the sanctions have been passed, almost 10 years now since we've had the sanctions, close to.
Reggie back in the stadium now.
It's time for USC to stop thinking like a D3 school and start acting like the D1 Pac-12 school that they are, the powerhouse that they once were. And I said that they needed a big-time name. Now, a lot of people argue me down on it. Let me explain something to you people. Number one, this is Los Angeles. This is the second largest market. Everything you got to do is big to compete and stay relevant in this here market, in this here city. If you don't, you will be yesterday's trash at the bottom of a bird cage.
Facts.
Or UCLA.
UCLA actually went big. That's why they got Chip Kelly. Why? Because Chip Kelly not only did what he did in Oregon, but he went to the NFL, which means now when you sit in the recruiter's living room, in the recruit's living room, you can say, hey, I can actually get you to the NFL because I have NFL connections. Because two or three things that kids are looking for today is, can you get me on TV every week, and can you get me to the NFL? And also a distant third is, what do your practice facilities look like? Well, fortunately for USC, they have one of the best workout facilities that I've ever seen in the John McKay Center. So fortunately good for them. Same thing you see with Oregon and a couple of other schools. But the difference is, when Pete Carroll was here, Pete Carroll was not afraid to recruit California. USC has been afraid to recruit California because they haven't had the backbone enough to do it. When you had another reason why I say you have to have a big name is because Pete Carroll set the bar so high, you can't get a Luke Fickell. James Franklin is not coming here to this debacle. And you need a big name coach. Now, I know they was talking about Eric Bieniemy. Let me explain something to you real quick. First of all, somebody asked Eric Bieniemy locally, would you be interested in the USC job? That's like asking one of you two guys, hey, where are you going to go for dinner? Would you be interested in going to In-N-Out or Five Guys? And you end up going to freaking Denny's. Does that mean you're going to In-N-Out or Five Guys? No, did somebody ask you a damn question? You said, oh, I wouldn't mind going to In-N-Out or Five Guys. Does that mean you're guaranteed to go to freaking Five Guys? No. Okay, then think for a second.
I asked Hugh Jackson that at the NFLPA game. Like, would you consider coaching back in college? He's like, of course I would. Now he's offensive coordinator at I think Tennessee State with Eddie George.
Think about this. Why in the hell would Eric Bieniemy leave Kansas City when he has arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks up and coming that he could coach another year or two? Because Andy Reid ain't going to be there much longer. Let's be honest. He got maybe another year, maybe 2 seasons tops before he retires. Who do you think is going to take over? You think if Andy Reid marches to the Hunt family or whoever's in charge, along with Pat Mahomes, and say, hey, I want Eric Bieniemy as my head coach, you think they're going to turn down Pat Mahomes, the franchise quarterback, the man that brings them the money, the man that owns Kansas City, basically? Yep. No. You think Andy Reid's recommendations going to fall on deaf ears? Hell no. Why do you think Eric Bieniemy has yet to have a job? It's not because he can't interview. I don't think he really wants a head coaching job in the vacancies that have become available. Why would you? Why would you? Why would I not stay in a comfy position where Eric Bieniemy is probably doing majority of the coaching anyway, especially on the offensive end? Yeah. Why would I want to leave to go to this chaos known as USC right now when you have a president that thinks that the academic department is weighed heavier than the athletic department, where everybody knows the athletic department is the reason why the money gets floated through there, mainly through the football program and secondly through the basketball program, through the men's and women's program, but mainly through college football. That USC is a college football school, much like UCLA is considered a basketball school. Yep. Why is that? Because that's what they've been thriving off of for decades. You think you can't change a game in the 9th inning? And that's the problem. I like Mike Bohn as an AD. I think Mike Bohn is a really good, strong AD. But when you got a president like Carol Folt who doesn't understand the terrain, and unless she gets on the same page as everybody else, along with the boosters and everybody else, it's going to be complete chaos. Period.
All right. Hello, caller. What's your name and your location? Can you turn your volume down?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
What's good?
What's good? Hey, it's Keep Good News, man. I got to call in and comment on this whole Eric Bieniemy thing not going to SC. I think it actually be a good move.
And why is that?
Well, because, see, if he stays in Kansas City, it's already built. It's like, okay, is he really building himself as a legacy? Is he really, like, proving himself as a coach? Because, it's different for Andy Reid. He's got a track record. If he steps right into that, okay, he has a track record of being an assistant coach. But even if he wins another championship with Kansas City, it's not going to be because, Eric Bieniemy was a great coach. Because, well, look what Andy Reid left him. I think if he does go to SC and does have an impact on that school, which I think he will, I think he will have a crazy impact. I think more players will want to come there. I think it'll be a different situation if he goes there. He can change the way that football team is looked at and really get it back up to, SC standards. I think that he has that capability. And I think if he does that, I think his legacy is going to be, much more concrete than if he just takes over Kansas City and wins. That's just my take on it.
Interesting.
Well, let me say this much. I'm not saying that Eric Bieniemy could not do what you said that he could do at USC, but here's the problem. How much control will he have at USC? That is the question. Number two, will he be able to do the things that he really wants to do and be able to execute them and start from ground zero and work his way up? When you look at what he can do in Kansas City as far as having Pat Mahomes, who probably is going to win a couple of more Super Bowls before he's said and done, and be able to be responsible for that, much more than he has been responsible in times before, at least recognized, I do believe that it may be beneficial for him to stay in the NFL. Now,
how many more Super Bowls do you think that Mahomes is going to win? Like, I just want to know. Like,
he could actually win 2 more before he's said and done.
That's about
Okay. So I think that if he does win 2 more, it will be with Andy Reid. So by the time that Eric Bieniemy becomes, the head coach, it's going to be a new sheriff in town. I mean, it is every 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So, unless you're Tom Brady, that's just something different. But Mahomes does have that potential. Nevertheless, if he does win 2 more, which I think he will, he may get one of those with Eric Bieniemy, and then what?
Well, here's the thing. When you look at, first of all, how long do you think Andy Reid has left? Because he has about another season or 2 left, and he's going to be up out of there. If that,
I think if he gets a ring, he's out.
So here's the thing. When you look at All you need is one Super Bowl because most coaches can't even sniff the draws of the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So the fact that you're able to get to the Super Bowl and actually win one. When you look at Mike Tomlin, Mike Tomlin has only won one Super Bowl. The reason why Mike Tomlin is still there because he's never had a losing season as a head coach in Pittsburgh. If Eric Bieniemy can continue, even if he gets one championship, let's say he goes and fights for another championship and they come up short, right? But at the same time, they don't have any losing seasons in between time during his tenure. He's going to remain in Kansas City for God knows how long until he's ready to leave himself. And as long as you have Pat Mahomes that's healthy and you can build around that, you got a fighting chance every day of the week. What I'm saying about the U.S. What I'm saying about the USC job is that I think a better person who has the knowledge and the terrain and understands the terrain will have to be a college coach, which is why I said Urban Meyer would be the best candidate. Not anything against Eric Bieniemy, but Urban Meyer lives for college coaching. Urban Meyer understands the terrain of college football. He is going to be running like Ezell running from a crack house in Friday. As soon as this season is over with.
Like Ricky in the alleyway?
This man couldn't even. Now, mind you, this man could not even look the reporter in the eye, and he mumbled like he was a 6-year-old that got busted for putting his hand in the cookie jar before dinner.
He pulled a Bobby Petrino.
And this dude said, I'm committed to it. He couldn't even look you in the damn eye. I was like, this dude is gone. He's already, and the reports are that from what I've been told,
hit him with the magic.
And other reports that he's already been frustrated after 4 losses, 3 preseason losses that don't even count. You pissed off because you lost 3 preseason games, and now you got demolished by the Houston Texans, who barely have anybody. Props to Tyrod Taylor, but you have nobody, and you think it's going to get easier as the season progresses? Hell no.
I don't want to see him ruin Trevor Lawrence.
But Trevor Lawrence is going to get ruined, period, because he has no serious help. Urban Meyer is going to be begging, kicking, and screaming to get back to college football. SC screwed up the first time by not hiring because they want to stand on their moral high horse and wag their finger on their soapbox, but they're no longer in the position to do that. And if they want to start being competitive, like you see the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the Georgias and the Oregons of the world and the Ohio States and Michigans of the world to be competitive on the football level, then they're going to have to get some type of big name coach. They can't get some lame duck, sorry ass coach that's sitting in the living room.
I agree. I agree. They need a name.
There's no reason why Bryce Young should be at Alabama right now, who came from Mater Dei. There's no reason why. If Urban Meyer
is at Clemson too,
exactly, or the line, the corner or the safety that came from Southern California that's playing at LSU.
Oh, I'll give you like 5. Elias Ricks was at Mater Dei. He had 3 picks in a title game. Transferred to IMG Academy. Then went to LSU.
Correct.
Then you got Kayvon Thibodeau, who was at Dorsey, transferred to
Oaks Christian.
Yeah, and then went to Oregon.
So here's the thing: do you honestly think Urban Meyer would let all that talent in Southern California alone?
All those Norvon cats left California.
No,
they went to Arizona State.
No, because
Sarah, all of them.
SC got to me. This is just my opinion. It's not fact. I haven't heard anything. Just my opinion, my observation. SC, I think, was scared to recruit California talent because that's why you have the Nick Sabans and the Mario Cristobal's of the world and even the Jim Harbaugh's of the world to come out and say, "Oh, we're gonna raid California. We're gonna raid the fridge," because they know there's no resistance. When Pete Carroll was here, people were scared to come into California. The reason why Utah and all these other schools had California talent
State?
Is because you had USC was already fully stocked, and you weren't gonna get no PT.
You wasn't gonna get nothing. Yeah, that's real. Too. Pete Carroll has no lot.
Pete Carroll got Dwayne Jarrett out of New Jersey. Dwayne Jarrett was homesick the first month before Pete realized, you know what? Let me bring your folks out here so you can feel comfortable. Brian Cushing, the same USC that went down to Oklahoma and beat the brakes off of them 55-14 in the Orange Bowl. When OJ was cooking for him.
I'm pretty sure Adrian Peterson was on that team.
Yeah. So
freshman?
So what I'm saying is, all in all, whether it's Eric Bieniemy, whether if it ends up being Urban Meyer, if it ends up being, possibly if John Harbaugh, if it doesn't work out in Baltimore and they decide to mutually part ways, John Harbaugh will be another good candidate because you have NFL connects, and John Harbaugh in a couple of seasons could turn USC around because it's going to take a season or two to turn it around.
He can coach special teams.
Like I said, I think all of them will be a success, but I was just commenting on, you kind of saying that EV ain't the guy, and I think he is the guy. I know it's cool to follow up, you know what I'm saying, in a NFL situation, but we all know in college football it's about the coach. So I think it'll be a brighter light shine to him if he goes to SC and does, be a coach. I think that he'll get the light that he deserves. And, I think there'll always be a job waiting for him in the NFL at some point anyways. But I think that him, being able to take control of
but I think to Nick's point, though, he's already in the role that anybody would want.
Let me correct you. Let me correct you one second, because I never said he wasn't the one. I just said it was better. Why would he want to go there when he already has a cushy spot in Kansas City with a championship-esque type of team?
And
that's what I'm saying.
Quarterback.
And having to deal with this chaos known as USC right now, because everybody's not on the same page, because you have a president that you hired because of all of these scandals, unfortunately, that value academics over athletics, and that's not how this is ran. This is about athletics. This is an athletic ran school. This is not a D3 school or D2 school or D1 AA. This is USC. This is the fight on right now is fight on to mediocrity, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Now I love
fight on to the Holiday Bowl.
I love Dante Williams. I hope that brother gets a head coaching job. Hopefully these rest of these games will be on display for everybody to pay attention to, and maybe he gets a head coaching job at another institution, because I don't think he stays on at USC. I just don't see it happening, especially when you got to get on the good foot. And you got to compete.
Somebody needs to hire Marshawn Lynch and get him out there so he can teach them how to take care of their chicken.
This dude over here.
He could be the strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, man. But for sure, man, I just want to tap in, man. I'm going to let y'all get back to it.
All right. Thanks, Keith. Have a good night. Drive safe.
Have a good one, brother.
Go Panthers, I guess. Are you still Panthers fan? All I know is with USC, the fact that I think their medical department lost their accreditation, and there's a bunch of sexual assault cases and everything that they're still handling. We ain't got time to be talking about academics. Michigan ain't won anything in God knows how long. Harbaugh's still there.
And yet they win at least 9 games a year, and they get to a good bowl game.
They're like,
they actually might beat Ohio State this year. They got a good shot at beating Ohio State this year.
Yeah. I mean, they lost their best receiver, but still, they killed Washington.
Hey, Ohio State didn't have Kayvon Thibodeau on their defense. Oregon didn't have Kayvon Thibodeau on the defense, and they still beat Ohio State on the road.
And they lost Justin Flo. By the way, they let Justin Flo out. Justin Flo damn near running like a 4.3 at linebacker in high school, killing kids. Yeah. This dude didn't go to USC. He went to Oregon. And then Panay Sewell's little brother, Noah.
Nike U.
Still, the fact that you could even look at Michigan got a kid out of Sarah. They got a couple corners. They've pulling kids out of California. It's almost like I remember when Florida had Ronald Powell. When they went and got a bunch of they got the best player in California. I mean, Ronald Powell didn't do much, but other schools have so little respect for you. Recruiting base, they just come and they're expected to get your top player.
USC, I love USC. Clemson. I love USC football, and it's very disappointing when you're watching, you're covering it, and you know the potential that they could have, and you know what they could be.
They wasted Adoree.
And they got a tough schedule. I mean, even with Dante Williams, they probably beat the crap out of Wazoo this week. But they got to come back down. They got to come back home. And then you got 3 tough games to me, because you got to face Notre Dame, UCLA, and BYU. And BYU's actually playing some decent football this year.
They got a black QB.
That's another thing about USC. Until you get an athletic quarterback like a Trevor Lawrence, or like a Deshaun Watson,
Justin Fields,
or Bryce Young, Justin Fields, you're not going to compete, and USC is still stuck in the past. And to me, it's a shame because
OC surf
Drake
6'5" dude
are trash anyway.
Because Drake London is going to be an NFL player at some point, first round. I don't know where, but first round. Drake Jackson on the defense is going to be a nice pickup in the NFL when he becomes eligible. But they're wasting away the talent, and it's sad to see that because they have some talented kids, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to cultivate that talent and be able to nurture it enough and to be able to send it in the right direction to be able to produce, dividends. And so it's really disappointing when you see what this program once was and what they are now.
Yeah, because we was talking about it off air, like, he was like, Reggie was a starter. Lindell was a 2. I was like, Lindell was a 1. Lindell was a 1 against Texas. Don't tell me Lindell was a 2.
Reggie Bush changed the whole college football landscape.
Forever. Like,
Reggie Bush was one of the greatest backs I've ever seen. I mean, we watch film on everybody else, but he's one of the greatest backs we've ever seen.
You just watch Reggie and say, okay, that's it. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hello, this is Lukas Parrish. I am calling from Columbia, Missouri.
All right, Lucas. Lucas is from the Fantasy Factory, the Fantasy Football Laboratory. Thank you for calling in, Lucas. We were just wrapping up our college football segment.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
No worries. So, Lucas, man, I need you to help me out.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
I see that you're also, I think I saw somewhere that you're also the Zach Moss fan page.
I am. I have been on the Zach Moss hype train all off season. Week 1 was a little bit of a blow to me, I'll be honest.
What do I do with Zach Moss?
That's a great question. Right now you're holding. You're obviously not trading because you're not going to get anything in a trade. And, I'm not ready to drop yet, right? The big concern with Zach Moss was that he was inactive for what seemed to be nothing. It seemed like he was healthy, and they were just like, nah, you're not playing, which is weird after an offseason full of a lot of promise and a lot of reports coming out that Zach Moss was showing Singletary up in camp, and that Singletary didn't really have a lot of friends in the coaching staff. But man, Zach Moss week 1, that was rough. You're holding him on your bench at this point, but definitely a guy who, as much as I hate to say it, down the road, if we don't see improvement, is going to be a drop candidate.
What would be another sort of tier 2, 3 running back? Thank you.
That you mean like someone of similar value, or at least of what I hope Zach Moss could be? Exactly,
someone that I could pick up, as a starter, 1, 2. Someone who can split either my second running back or flex.
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. There are a lot of guys that you're looking at kind of in that area. I think a big one, Tyson Williams for the Ravens. What you're looking at with
he
him,
bought
you're
me
looking
up
at
last week.
What are the carry numbers going to be? Right, Latavius
exactly.
Murray, Devonta Freeman, Le'Veon Bell, they've all been signed. Last week, you had Latavius Murray there for 2 days, and he had more carries than Williams. Obviously, Williams saw the receiving work. Williams got in the end zone. So did Murray, though, and Williams looked a lot better overall. But, that's someone who's on a similar tier. Obviously, when you're looking at your waiver wire, unless Mark Ingram is there, which I assume after this week Mark Ingram is not there, you're probably not going to find a ton of success trying to, find a replacement running back. Typically why running backs are so, we always encourage guys to go running back super early because it's just such a shallow position. Once you get past the starting running backs of the top 32 teams, you're looking at scraps.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Baltimore because we actually had a listener who asked me off air. He told me to ask you this, but in his league, both of the starting Baltimore receivers are available. Hollywood Brown and Sammy Watkins. Both of them are very talented, and both of them also come with injury concerns. So, in that scenario, do you think either one is worth rolling the dice on week to week?
Gosh, that's a great question. If I were to pick one, I'd probably pick Marquise Brown. And, I say it very hesitantly. I'm not a big fan of either one of them.
Yeah.
Marquise Brown was actually one that one of my co-hosts, Shane, was really, really big on last year. And he obviously didn't produce like you wanted to see. The one that I'm biggest on, though, and if he's available, it should be the one that he picks up, especially if he's got an IR spot, Rashad Bateman. the rookie. I mean, I absolutely expect him to come in and pretty immediately be the number one guy there. When you look at a combination of size, route running ability, speed, athleticism, he's got it all to be the number one in an offense that does not have another number one wide receiver. Rashad Bateman, I was really high on in this offseason, and obviously his injury has kind of set him back a little bit. But if you've got an IR spot and Rashad Bateman's available, he's a great person to fill that IR spot with, and then, in a couple weeks now, he should be coming back. And when he's on that field, I expect him to be the Lamar Jackson's go-to guy. I don't see Marquise Brown or Sammy Watkins really being a ton of competition for him. I mean, we just saw Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase, two other first-round guys, and Jalen Waddle, too, really have big breakout weeks. Rashad Bateman, I think that's really coming up here.
Now, in regards to running backs, now, me personally, I'm undefeated in all my leagues right now.
There we go.
But I took a gamble and drafted Ronald Jones, and it's cost me dearly. But like I have Kyler Murray, Hunt, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Hawkinson, A.J. Brown, A.J. Green, Young Ho, the Buccaneers defense, Dalton Knox on my bench, Watkins, the receiver,
free league.
No, this is a paid league. Actually.
Oh, okay, my bad. He just started playing for paid.
Yeah, exactly. I got Jamison Crowder in my reserve because he had COVID. I got Sony Michel and I got A.J. Dillon, and I definitely am getting rid of Matt Ryan because I just don't trust him. That's my backup QB. Now, between, let's say, A.J. Dillon and Sony Michel, realistically, am I pretty much just handcuffed into holding on to those two? Because the way the Packers got beat and Aaron Jones is like the top guy for the Packers, like, do I just not expect much from like the backup running back position?
Look, holding on to a handcuff is not a bad thing because the second Aaron Jones goes down, the second Darrell Henderson, you want to talk about an injury-prone running back, Darrell Henderson is the definition of that. The second one of those guys go down, these guys gain a little bit more value. I definitely think Sony Michel has the better chance for standalone value. I know last week, Henderson saw a whopping 94% of snaps, which is huge. I mean, he was number 2 behind Najee Harris, who saw 100% of snaps. And that's obviously a number you want to see out of your running back, not necessarily want to see if Sony Michel is a guy that you have. But Sony Michel is also pretty new to that offense. They might use him more. But again, if Henderson goes down, it's definitely, or if Aaron Jones goes down, those two guys are in line for massive, massive workload. So it's not bad to hold on to them, but until, an injury happens to one of those guys, it's one of those things where you're probably not going to get a ton of value out of either of them.
Gotcha. And what would you say is a better value? Because I don't like drafting Joe Mixon because he cost me my fantasy league a couple years ago.
Yep.
Just totally ruined me. Worse than when I drafted Derrick Henry and he didn't do anything, and I'm drafting Derrick Henry now, hoping he does something. Because I narrowly missed out on when he had like that 300-yard rushing game or whatever it was. But what would you say for me in my other lineup is a better value? I got Joe Mixon starting compared to having 3 tight ends on my roster. I have Rob Gronkowski, T.J. Hawkinson, and Kyle Pitts. Now, would you now normally, I mean, you wouldn't recommend having like, let's say, Kyle Pitts could be a superstar, but like my thinking was I got 2 of the best tight ends. I have Waller in another league, but as far as like tight ends go and having receivers, is it better to have one great running back or like multiple good tight ends and receivers for the flex? What are you kind of more grounded in?
I mean, I'm definitely much more on a running back in your flex spot, and I think it really comes down to a starting running back is going to get more touches every single game than a starting wide receiver. So week in and week out, that running back is going to have a better chance of getting you more points because of that, right? Obviously a rush attempt is less valuable in a PPR league than a reception, but you're going to get a lot more of them. I've got David Montgomery as a flex in one of my leagues, and he's an awesome flex because he's really a workhorse back there for the Bears. Having those, I mean, Kyle Pitts and T.J. Hawkinson, you've got a couple really good tight ends. You've got great tight ends at a position that, has been very scarce for the last couple of years. Who knows? I mean, this year, everybody, I think, assumes it to be the same. But there's definitely been some promise from Dallas Goedert, Noah Fant, some of those guys as well. It's interesting, having those guys. Obviously, Kyle Pitts and T.J. Hawkinson's your starting tight end, no question. Kyle Pitts is someone that I'd be pretty comfortable throwing into my flex. If you find a team that's pretty tight end needy though, and they'd be willing to give up a solid running back for it, I definitely think that's the route that you should go. Preferably giving up Pitts over Hawkinson in my mind. I know that Pitts, has a lot of hype around him and all that stuff, and I'm absolutely on the Kyle Pitts is going to be a stud in the NFL. He's a 6'6" wide receiver. What's not to like? But historically, rookie tight ends tend to not produce a ton. Kyle Pitts, again, different thing, right? He's just so ridiculously athletic and so dominant. But TJ Hawkinson, on the other hand, it's his third year in the league, and he's going to be a target hog. Like, there's no one else to throw the ball to, so TJ Hawkinson's going to eat. If you could find someone who's tight end desperate but has some good running back depth, and you can get a Kyle Pitts for a David Montgomery or even like a Myles Gaskin or something like that, definitely something that's worthwhile to look at.
At this rate, I mean, Saquon only had 8 points. I might be able to score him.
Yeah.
Or Jamar Chase.
I mean, this is the perfect time to try and cash in something on Saquon Barkley too, because he just had back-to-back bad weeks, and I believe his matchups get a little bit easier. And at the very least, they can't get any tougher. So, the bigger thing is what's Saquon's workload going to look like, right? Because if it should hopefully go up. Now he's got a 10-day break, which is very good. He needs to be that bell cow back, especially with a bad offensive line in a system that's not a very good offense. He's got to get a lot of touches in order to be productive week in and week out.
Thanks. Last question for me, because I feel like my lineup is pretty set this week. But I took a flyer on Odell late in my draft. Now, comparatively, I like Odell. I just can't trust it. So, a guy like Jacobs, who apparently, he was sick last week, and I don't know when it comes to the Raiders. Like, they're my team, so like I try to shy away from, always starting Raiders players unless you're Waller and you always start them. But a dude like Odell, would you start him as soon as he's healthy and ready to go, or would you kind of sit back on that one?
I honestly can't. I don't have a great answer for that question because I don't really know what he's going to look like in this offense right now. Last year Baker Mayfield threw 7 of his 8 interceptions with Odell on the field. And Odell got hurt week 8-ish. He got hurt like right at the halfway point, and Baker only threw one more pick after Odell's injury. So having Odell not there was actually better for the Browns offense last year than having Odell there, which is a little bit concerning to me. I think that can either manifest itself in two ways. It can either mean that Odell's going to struggle a lot more because they're not going to be targeting him as much, or they're not going to be forcing the ball to him, so he'll overall produce more. So it'll be interesting to see. I am not eager to get him in my starting lineup in any format. He's someone who maybe early on you throw in your flex because you know that Odell can boom pretty big, but definitely not someone I would trust as a wide receiver too, at least off the bat. You want to put guys like that in positions where a bad week's not going to screw your team over. Having them in your flex does that. Having them as your wide receiver too, it's a little less certain.
All right. Oh, sorry. My mic was muted. All right, Lucas, I got a question for you. We're getting into the weeds a little bit, but let's back up a little bit. How many leagues are you in right now currently? In addition to that, do you play any of the other formats? And how many of those do you do?
I'm in 7 leagues. I'm in 7 leagues right now, which is honestly too many. But, I love drafting. I love creating these teams. It's a lot of fun. Most of them are redraft. That's my favorite format to play in. 12-team PPR redraft is my favorite format, and that's a pretty standard format. One of them is a dynasty league. One of them is a 32-man league. That one's very interesting. You've got 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 3 flex spots, a super flex spot, and then an individual defensive player. That one's interesting. I don't typically play with individual defensive players, but in that one I am.
I used to play like that when I was a kid on ESPN back in the day.
Yeah. No, it's a fun league. I do a little bit of DFS, but not a whole bunch just because, I'm a college student, so I don't have a ton of money to throw at daily fantasy lineup. But I definitely stay up to date with that stuff. I have never done an auction draft, though. So that's something that is very interesting. But I mean, I spread myself out pretty well. That between 7 fantasy leagues, I've got a stake in quite a few players, and really get an opportunity to test out a lot of different strategies, which is pretty nice.
Do you like Zeke in DFS this week? Do you think he has a bounce back week?
Here we go.
Well, that's a great question. Do you happen to know like what Zeke is going for in DFS?
No, I don't know, but I haven't been year long, and I'm just thinking about just doubling up at this point. I'm gonna ride the wave with Zeke. I'm either gonna be really sad or really mad.
Yeah, no, Zeke is going to be better. I mean, against the Chargers, if he's not, then that's where we really get concerned. It's all about usage. I think the biggest thing that concerned me last week was that
wasn't getting
Tony
carries.
Pollard was being used as to get most of the receptions, and that's something you want to see go to Zeke.
Yeah.
But, Zeke was still my number 5 running back on the board going into the season. I absolutely expect him to be a bell cow back for a healthy Dallas team. You got Dak back. When Dak was there last year, Zeke was good. Zach Martin should hopefully, I think, come back this week for the Cowboys. If not this week, then next week. Zeke should be fine. Depending on the price tag, I wouldn't spend too much. If Zeke's price tag is, in the range of, if his price tag is in anywhere near the range of a Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, I'd struggle a little bit more. Especially if you get like a DeAndre Swift for cheaper, I'd definitely go with DeAndre Swift over that. But,
okay.
If his price tag is pretty realistic, then Ezekiel Elliott should absolutely be a good play this week.
Yeah, man. And so you mentioned you're a college student. You're at one of the most prominent J schools you could go to. What is that like?
It's a lot of fun, I'll be honest. And it's a lot of work, too. Mizzou, the University of Missouri is a great campus. I've lived in Missouri my whole life, so it made a lot of sense. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, so I'm a Chiefs fan. I apologize to the Raiders fan.
What's up with Chiefs fans and fantasy experts? Like, you're like the 4th fantasy expert we've had that's a Chiefs fan. So random to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's kind of funny.
Is it those 2 decades of losing? Like, you guys needed something to
It's the Jamal Charles. It's the Jamal Charles Priest Holmes when Tony Richardson scored like 4 touchdowns as a fullback against Atlanta. It's that, isn't it?
Absolutely. I had Jamal Charles my first season of fantasy football. So
that's true.
Jamal Charles, Frank Gore was my running back for 5th grade. My first season of fantasy football. That was what a time.
So you won. They didn't even need to show.
But yeah, the reason why I asked that is because obviously you're a growing, budding fantasy expert. You're a college student. Like, what is it that makes fantasy worth your time every week? The 7 leagues, the DFS. Yeah. What is it that makes you want to do that every week?
I just love it. Fantasy football has always been a huge passion of mine. I would constantly get into debates with a lot of my friends all throughout high school from the different fantasy football leagues that we were in. As soon as I got to campus, I made a bunch of friends with journalism majors and sports journalism guys. We decided to start this podcast freshman year. We branded it a little bit differently. We branded it as like Mizzou's premier fantasy football podcast. Kind of over that first year, kind of got the chemistry.
That's how Morning Brew started. That's how Morning Brew started. It was just a college newsletter.
Yeah, it was, and it was actually through one of our student media platforms that we had this podcast. But then year 2 came along, and we were all kind of living together. Also, it was a fully online semester due to COVID and all that stuff. And Shane, our one of my co-hosts, Shane, came in with this new branding, and we were like, all right, let's run with it. Let's see what happens. And man, we've grown way more than we could have ever imagined. It's really been awesome. It's been a lot of fun to record podcasts with these guys, for the last couple of years, every single week. I love doing it. It's just a reason to get out of bed in the morning. School's sometimes fun, sometimes not, but this podcast is always fun.
All right, Lukas. Well, before we let you go, why don't you let the good people know where they can find you, what kind of work you got coming up, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow us on Twitter at FF Laboratory. We're always producing content there. We also have a website, fflaboratory.com, constantly being updated with our weekly rankings. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to check that out. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter as well. We're always trying to answer, guys. Obviously, our podcast are a great way. You can find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, most places that you get your podcast, the Fantasy Football Laboratory. Yeah, that's us, and it's been great being on your show, guys.
Awesome, Lukas. We appreciate it, man. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
So that was Lukas from, I forgot what his podcast was called. My bad. The Fantasy Football Laboratory. My bad.
Bro, what?
My bad.
How do you just say that on the air?
You guys know I don't have memory.
You got CTE, but how do you just admit that? By the way, shout out to Nick Hamilton.
Yeah, shout out to Nick Hamilton. He had a run at Nick Hamilton LA. Nightcast Media, they changed the name, so I'm glad I checked that out.
His Twitter account, but it's Nick Hamilton at Nick Hamilton 213. Salute to him.
Probably because he keeps calling out all white media ownership.
Yeah, I mean, but it's true.
I mean, it's true.
It's factual.
He says stuff that's true.
I said it in college.
Black media matters.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, I mean, we pretty much already ate up all the show. So I mean, can we just speed through touchdown and turnover?
There's not much.
All right, let's just.
There's more college football news than there is that.
All right, but your college football takes forever.
Nah, it's actually really short.
All right, go through.
So UCLA is ranked 12th, and they're going to play. Fresno State is going to play at UCLA this weekend. Chip Kelly. This could be a signature win because Fresno State almost beat Oregon.
I'm going to need you to command the mic, please.
I am commanding the mic, but I'm talking about UCLA.
Your mic's too low. Thank you, sir.
I'm talking about UCLA, so there's not much respect involved. I think this one broke. Okay, no, it's good. All right, so UCLA is ranked 12th in the country after beating LSU. Keon Butte leads the country in touchdown catches. So when he's a first-round pick that the Raiders also pass on, you know.
Chrissy Floyd called it.
Yep. Also, you know, UCLA, Zach Charbonnet, who I want to say he went to Oaks Christian when he was out here. First, he comes back, you know, their senior QB. Dorian Robinson, I always forget the extension of his last name. But UCLA could shock the world, ranked 12th. So, but if they lose to Fresno State, because Fresno State has a ton of transfers playing, this should be a Pac-12 game, but, you know, Pac-12 got scared and decided to do that fake alliance.
Just like you're scared to call to work and go. But go ahead. Continue.
A what? A working
Just
what?
like you don't want to go.
That's not why we talk about that off the air.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm not afraid to go. I'm going to Boston next week, and our 5th year anniversary of Touchdowns and Tangents is next Friday.
Jesus, I've been working with you for 5 years.
Technically,
must be crazy.
Technically 7. I mean, I've been told the same thing. But because if you count the sundial, 7 years. I've known you for 7 years. Ugh. I'm kidding. Kind of. But, nah, so Fresno State could steal this win from UCLA, tank UCLA's whole season, and put a rocket in the back of theirs. So, that's going to be really interesting. Also, Alabama and Florida play this week. Did you know that Nick Saban is 23-0 against all his former assistants?
Bro, I know you did not just take the last 5 minutes of my podcast to talk about Alabama and Florida State.
No, but like Nick Saban literally
I don't care.
He's 23-0 against all his former assistants. Dan Mullen never beat him, like 0-10. Kirby Smart,
who
never beat him.
Who?
I just think it's funny that like they reloaded a whole. Alabama might low-key has the best defense in the country, better than.
Bro, you have Arkansas on my rundown right now.
They beat Texas.
You're about to just get the whole college football segment removed.
Nah.
Why is Arkansas on our rundown right now? Because we literally hate on Arkansas every chance we get.
Really? We do? But Texas crapped on Arkansas. All these SEC teams that are beating like Big 12 teams are like, hey, welcome to the SEC. Like teams who aren't even going to the SEC, they're beating them and they're saying that. They're like, what the hell? But the fact that Arkansas was putrid last year. And the year before. I think 2 years ago they didn't win a single game. So the fact that they're beating Texas, but Texas is supposed to be back, and Steve Sarkisian is recruiting 5-star QBs out of Malik Murphy, the Sarah QB. The fact that They're recruiting all this top talent and losing to Arkansas. Texas sucks again.
All right.
UCLA's bad. I mean, USC's bad, but they're not losing to Arkansas bad.
All right. So, should we just move to the rants now? Can we move to the rants?
I mean, the Colts, pretty much the only thing newsworthy, really. Colts are taking place with the first ever in-season Hard Knocks. Other than that, there was nothing else to talk about.
Turnover. Nobody cares. Give us the
You want to go
Amazon
on a
all
tangent
thing.
about that turnover?
No, I'm good. And also,
Fair enough.
Calvin Johnson won his money.
Man,
Take
this
a tangent on
that's
that.
an old story, bro.
It came back up again. He still says he wants his 1.5.
If you owe me $20
He's not giving up his 1.5.
It's 1.6.
1.6. 1.6.
If you owe me $20 and you don't want to pay me 5 years later, yeah, it's probably still F you.
All right, and prayers up for DeMarcus Lawrence, the Boise State GOAT. I think he's like top 4 in sacks since he came to the league.
A couple guys might have passed him, but yeah. So 2 of those guys are busts.
Broke his foot. Hope he gets better soon.
He's going to be out at least.
And Disney is considering a kids-focused telecast. I'm going to say that's a turnover because they're just copying Nickelodeon.
They really are.
All right, so let's get to the rants. This is how we close out the show. This is our 1 minute FaceTime to say whatever's on our mind, what we didn't get to say,
We don't call it FaceTime, though.
anything. Yeah, because we don't want to get ripped off by Around the Horn, but it's okay because they
Sue?
dragged Max Kellerman, who literally started that show, so it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Got something you want to say?
no, I'm good. I already went on my Max Kellerman respect tangent like 2 weeks ago.
Respect. I don't like how Stephen A. is big time to people.
Honestly, their show is fire, bro. Like, I've literally been sitting in the car and working from home listening to Keyshawn and Max, bro. Like, I mess with that show. Anyways, so, do you want to go first?
I don't really have much to say, so yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So my nephew is advancing to the stage where he just pulls at your face. And I'm like, yes, I have a face, you have a face. Now get your sharp-ass claws out of my mouth, please. I'm bleeding. This is a 4-month-old child. And he has the vice grip of Adrian Peterson. I'm worried and a little bit afraid. I'm going to have to really get back into shape because when he gets older, if he does get into sports, he's going to surpass me very quickly. Like, everyone with the good news, he's going to surpass a lot of people. So, I'm happy for my nephew, but at the same time, it's like, there's going to come a day where you're going to try me, and I'm going to fight dirty. I'm going to win. Just know, like, it's still love and respect. Like, the same way you have to beat up your younger siblings to let them know, like, there's a reason why I'm in charge. And you getting hit in your solar plex
I'm going to
crying,
save my comment for off the air.
And you getting hit in your solar plex and crying to mom is why I'm in charge. Because I wouldn't cry. I would just get you back. But anyway. Yeah. It's been an interesting day. That's all. And I'm going to be in Boston next week.
Wow.
Got the tickets, going to Boston, going to see the Red Sox, trying not to get racially profiled while I'm out there.
Good luck with that.
When I would get off the plane, I'll technically be worth more than the average black person in Boston because that's a really dark statistic. They actually, like, literally have it mapped out to how much money, like, the average black person is worth in Boston due to gentrification and a bunch of other stuff. So that's also sad. But I hate the Red Sox, and I hope the Yankees win, or I hope there's a fight. Either way, I'm probably going to be blacked out the whole fight listening to Donda. So it's going to be lit.
All right, so I don't have a lot to say this week either. I don't really have a lot to say. So I'll go ahead and introduce somebody new to the mic to my left. Do you want to say something? This is your time. You can say anything you want. You could say hi. You could say introduce yourself, whatever you feel comfortable.
He's making me nervous, guys. Like, never been in this environment. It's my first time. How you guys doing? I'm Vanessa Almaraz. I'm 19.
At Nessa Sports on IG.
Yes, Nessa Sports. You can also find me at Nessa on Air with 2 R's. That's my main page. But you guys can find me there.
What'd you think of the show so far?
It's out of my comfort zone, but I love it. I love it. it's a new environment for me, and it's something I want to try. I love it here. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on here.
That's great. Yeah. Yes. So for those of you who don't know, this young lady, I've been working with her for since January, just as a mentor, through Cal State Fullerton. She's a really, I'll say this, she's a really exceptional person in that Kenny knows I'm not the easiest person to deal with. I'm very demanding. I'm very direct, blunt, but this person right here to my left, she just runs with it. She doesn't run away from it. She's not afraid from it. She'll try anything, and that's what makes you great. And I'm happy to have you here. Looking forward to see you continue to grow your skills. I mean, I've been telling people for a minute now, like, you're going to be up next, and people that I'm connected with, like Kenny already knew about you before just because I talk you up, and other people in this industry too that follow me and mess with me, same thing. Like Nick Hamilton, like, you don't see him, but he was trying to say bye to you. But like that's another good connection.
Like, hey,
he like tried to say bye to you like 3 times.
I feel so bad. Yo, shout out to him.
Yeah, so just keep doing what you're doing. Like, people are noticing you, and things are going to come together. Just
you're only 19. You're incredibly young, and you have really good direction.
You're doing the things that we wish we could have did. Just like that kid Lukas we had on. Like, if we had done this, like he's doing now in college, who knows?
I was like kind of doing it, but like we didn't.
We were doing it under the student media brand. What I'm saying, if
it was different, like
if we had just branded it and done it as a business then, like they are now, it'd be different.
Yeah, it'd be totally different, especially like 10, 12 years ago. But also, it's like that was a totally different era.
But ultimately, I mean, that's why we do this. It's not, we don't make any money off of it. Like, it's cool to get credentials. It's cool to talk to cool people and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's about us creating a platform for us to continue doing what we do, talk about the things we want to talk about, but also bring people into the fold. And, last year we brought on a team of people. A year before we brought someone on, and all those people have been able to, even if they didn't get to where they wanted to get to, they've all been able to progress and move forward. And so hopefully in this next, month or 2 months or 3 months or however you're around, you can get some of the same results.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Nick Hamilton again for joining us. Great stuff tonight. Shout out to Lukas.
Salute to Keith for calling in.
Salute to Keith for calling in.
The man of countless hairstyles. Salute to you, Keith.
Salute to Vanessa for coming in, and salute to Vanessa's parents for sharing her with us and bringing her here, make sure she's safe.
Indeed.
And yeah, that's about it. Catch this show, FBC Radio, X Squad affiliates, touchdownsandtangents.com, TGNradio.net. Right?
Yeah.
That's the URL?
Yep. touchdownsandtangents.com.
I'm the worst, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know the
I don't understand
network.
I don't
know the URL.
You can write words, but you can't say them.
I think that's why I'm not getting jobs. I think that's why I'm not getting jobs.
Do you want me to just like write the words how you would say it?
My old boss used to tell me that. He's like, you got to stop talking hood.
No,
it's like killing you.
No, it's not even that. Like, you talk gibberish, but you know what you want to say.
Whatever. Anyways.
Happy birthday, Mike to Pappy.
Thank you for listening to us. Tune in again next week. Barely Tangent coming in Monday, 8 p.m.
Season 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the sound effect. Stall.
On top of that, next week is our 5th anniversary of Touchdowns and Tangents. There might be tears. There's definitely going to be food. And I might bring my mom on.
And I still can't find the sound.
Pretty sure I'm going to just pull my mom up. Yeah, I think my mom's just going to come through and tell stories. Because my mom's way cooler than I could ever be in life. I can say that. Like, she literally has a story where, like, it was her 21st birthday. Rick James and Tina Marie pulled her on stage live on concert and sang happy birthday to her. I can't top that. Who's topping that? She said, Michael Jackson's not that impressive in concert because after 12 minutes you get tired of seeing the dude moonwalk across stage. so Prince is better. Like, that. What am I supposed to do with that? So yeah, salute to my mom, salute to my sister, nephew, Kenneth Barrios, Grande, Pete at Pete Certified, touchdowns and tangents. We out.
Peace.